My best friend betrayed me with my girlfriend. And now, years later, after building a life I'm proud of, they're both begging for my help. I'm 30 now, and 2 years ago, I landed the promotion I'd worked my whole life for. But it wasn't always this way. Years ago, I came home early from a business trip to find my best friend in my bed with my girlfriend. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. She begged for forgiveness, but all I felt was rage. I walked away that day, vowing to never look back. But now, after all I've built, they're knocking on my door. They need my help. They think they can manipulate me again. What they don't know is that the man they once knew is gone. And now, I have the power. This time, it's my turn to make them pay. I thought I had seen it all. I had spent years taking the high road, convincing myself that the small betrayals and the hurtful comments from my family were just part of life. After all, I had my career. I had built something for myself that I could be proud of, something my family could never take from me. But the truth was, I was running from the reality that I had never been truly seen, never truly valued. And I was about to learn that I had been wronged on a level I could never have imagined. It all started with a phone call, a simple call, one that would change everything. 2 months after I had gotten my promotion, I was settling into my new routine, doing the work I loved, enjoying the independence I had worked so hard to gain. But my phone rang one evening, a number I didn't recognize flashing on the screen. I was already tired from a long day at work, and I almost let it go to voicemail. But something made me pick up. "Hello?" I answered, not sure who to expect. "Hey," came the familiar voice on the other end of the line. It was my ex-girlfriend, the same woman who had once been my everything, the one who shattered my trust. "I know we haven't talked in a while, but I really need to speak with you," she said, her voice trembling. I froze. The last time we had spoken, I had ended things. I had walked away, cutting ties with her after finding out she had betrayed me with my brother. That was the last straw. But now, after all this time, she was calling me again, asking for help. My heart pounded in my chest, confusion filling my mind. I had been strong for months, convincing myself that I was better off without her, without all of them. I had worked hard to rebuild my life, and I was finally starting to feel like I had control. But now, her voice was threatening to unravel everything. "I need your help," she continued. "It's about my son." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My son. I had known the baby wasn't mine, but hearing her say those words twisted something deep inside me. I had spent months processing the betrayal, the hurt of knowing my own brother had slept with my fiancée and got her pregnant. I thought I had accepted it, buried the pain deep inside. But now she was calling me, asking for help, using the baby to tug at my heartstrings. "Why now?" I asked, my voice cold. "What do you want from me?" I need money," she said, her voice breaking. "My ex, your brother, he's been having financial problems and I don't know what to do. The baby needs things, and we are struggling." I could hear the desperation in her voice, the manipulation trying to worm its way back into my heart. It was the same old routine: use the baby, use her guilt, and make me feel responsible for something that was never mine to begin with. "I'm sorry, but I can't help you," I said firmly. "I have my own life to worry about." But she wasn't done. "Please, just a little. You don't understand. We don't have anyone else to turn to. Your brother, he's not the man you think he is. I'm just trying to make things work. We need you, and I don't know what to do." The words cut through me like a knife. She was still trying to manipulate me, still using my family as leverage to get what she wanted. I could feel the anger rising inside me, the betrayal, the lies. It all flooded back. "You and my brother ruined my life," I shouted, unable to hold back the years of pent-up frustration. "You think I'm just going to forgive you? Help you out of some mess you created? I've spent the last 2 years picking up the pieces of my life, and now you expect me to fix yours? You've got some nerve." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. I could almost hear her hesitation, the guilt she was trying to hide. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But he's my family now. We have a child together. And I need you. I don't know who else to turn to." I did not know what to say. The betrayal I had already experienced was still fresh, but it seemed like it was just getting worse with every passing day. She was using me, once again. She was pulling at the one thing I had left, the small thread of decency I still held in my heart for her. "Forget it," I said, my voice shaking with emotion. "You and him, your family, destroyed mine. I don't owe you anything." I ended the call abruptly, but the damage was already done. I sat there, staring at the phone in my hand, the weight of the words settling deep within me. How had I allowed myself to be trapped in this cycle? How had I let myself believe that I could ever escape their manipulation? For weeks I had tried to convince myself that everything was fine, that I was past the hurt, past the betrayal. But this phone call had shattered that illusion. I realized then that it was not just my ex or my brother I had to fight against. It was the entire system of lies and deceit that my family had built. They had used me, taken everything from me, and I had let them, but no more. I was done being their punching bag. I had worked too hard to build my own life, my own success, and I was not going to let them tear me down again. I had to take control of my life, and if that meant cutting them all out, completely, then so. Be it. But I would make them pay for what they had done. Not just my ex. Not just my brother. My parents too, who had stood by and watched as I was crushed under their weight. I had to do this. Not for revenge, but for myself. For my sanity. For the life I had fought so hard to create. The moment I hung up the phone, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I had spent far too long being pushed around. Too long thinking that forgiveness would somehow heal the wounds they had carved into me. But forgiveness was never going to fix anything. It was time to take control, time to show them that I was not the same man who had let them walk all over me. It started with a plan, something that would hit them where it hurt most. It would not be physical. No. This had to be smarter than that. It would not be about petty arguments or showing up at their doorstep. This had to be about taking everything they thought I owed them and making them realize just how wrong they were to treat me like I was invisible. The first move was obvious. I had to sever ties completely. This was not just about the betrayal from my ex and my brother. It was about my entire family's treatment of me, their toxic favoritism, and the way they had always dismissed my worth. But cutting them off wasn't going to be enough. No, I had to hit them harder. I had to show them that their actions would have consequences, not just for me, but for everyone who had ever taken advantage of me. I was never going to be the person they wanted me to be, the one who worked himself to the bone, only to be left in the shadows. I was going to be the person who turned their rejection into fuel for a fire they could not put out. The first step in my plan was simple. Remove them from my life entirely. I knew I had to stop seeing them as family. This was not about love anymore. This was about reclaiming what was mine. It had taken me years to build a career, a life that meant something. I wasn't going to let them take it from me. I called my lawyer that evening, the same one I had used for my divorce. He was a trusted family friend, someone I had known for years. When I told him what I was planning, he was quiet for a long time. He knew the complexities of my family, but even he could not deny the injustice I had suffered. He told me to be careful, that legal actions could take time and have lasting effects, but he also knew that I had been pushed too far to back down now. I was prepared for a battle. I had always been the one who walked away, who tried to make peace. But now, I was going to use the system, the very tools they thought they could control, to turn the tables in my favor. The next step was financial. I knew that my ex and my brother had been living off the money I had been sending after the divorce, money that I had been forced to give her under false pretenses. It was time to stop that flow completely. The alimony payments that were draining me, the money that had been used to support them after everything they had done, no more. I worked with my lawyer to file a motion to reduce or even eliminate the alimony payments. My ex had cheated on me, betrayed me, and gotten pregnant with my brother's child. She did not deserve a cent from me anymore. The legal argument was simple. I no longer had any obligation to her, especially considering the circumstances of our divorce and the fact that she had manipulated the situation to get more money than she was entitled to. I knew that the legal system could be slow, but I was in no rush. As the legal paperwork was filed, I set the next part of my plan in motion. I had learned that revenge, when executed correctly, didn't have to be reckless or impulsive. It could be surgical, precise. It could be about changing the balance of power in a way that the antagonist never saw coming. My next move? Confront my brother. It was time to face him head-on, but I was not going to let him have the upper hand this time. He had always been the one who got away with everything, the golden boy who could do no wrong in the eyes of our parents. I was going to strip him of that image, to show him that I was no longer the little brother who cowered under his shadow. I arranged a meeting with him, just the two of us. It was time for him to hear the truth from me, something he had avoided for far too long. When I met him at the cafe, I could see the cocky look on his face. He thought everything was going to be just like the old days. He would charm me, say a few words, and I would cave, just like always. But this time, I was ready. "I know what you did," I said, my voice low but firm. He shifted in his seat, his confident smirk faltering for a moment. "What are you talking about?" he asked, clearly trying to play innocent. "You think I don't know? You think I didn't see the way you and her looked at each other? The baby isn't mine, and you've been living off the money I've been forced to give her. You've ruined my life, and you thought you could walk away without facing the consequences?" His face went pale, the color draining from his cheeks. For the first time in years, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. He didn't know how to respond. He wasn't used to this side of me, the side that had been quiet for too long, the side that had allowed him to get away with everything. "I'm not going to let you manipulate me anymore," I continued, my voice rising slightly. "You'll regret what you've done, and I'm going to make sure of it." He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He was completely taken aback, and for the first time, I saw my brother for what he really was. Not the golden child, but a coward who had been hiding behind the family's favoritism. I stood up, leaving him sitting there, speechless. The shift in power had begun. The final piece of the puzzle was my parents. It was time to confront them too. They had never supported me, had always chosen my brother over me, but they were going to see that I no longer needed their approval. When I finally sat down with them, I looked at them both, and the words that came out of my mouth were cold, precise. "You chose him over me. You chose the lie, the betrayal. And now, you want something from me?" My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes, trying to play the victim once again. But I was done listening. I was done being their backup plan. I had been treated like an outsider, and now I was making sure they knew that I would never be their pawn again. "You are not part of my life anymore," I told them. "And I don't owe you anything. You'll learn that soon enough." The tables had turned. I had taken control. And now, my family, my ex, my brother, my parents, would see just how far I was willing to go to reclaim my life. They thought they had manipulated me for the last time, but they were wrong. This time, I was the one holding the cards, and I would not let them take anything from me again. It had taken months, but the day had finally arrived. The day I would show them the consequences of their actions. The day I would take control and reveal my revenge. My plan had been carefully constructed, every move calculated, every step executed with precision. And now, the pieces were in place. My ex, my brother, and my parents, each of them thought they had the upper hand. They thought I would roll over like I always had, that I would forgive, that I would let them back into my life. They thought they could continue using me. But today, they were going to see the truth. The first part of the plan was the legal victory. The motion to terminate the alimony payments was scheduled to be heard in court today. My lawyer had prepared an airtight case, presenting evidence of my ex's betrayal, her manipulation of the divorce settlement, and the fact that she had been living off the money I was forced to pay her. It was clear that she had no right to the money anymore. She had lied, and she had exploited me for too long. As I sat in the courtroom, the tension in the air was thick. I could feel my heart racing, but I remained calm. This was the moment I had been waiting for. My ex walked in, with her lawyer, a smug look on her face as if she still had the power. She didn't know how much had changed. My lawyer began presenting our case, laying out the facts, the lies, and the financial manipulation. My ex's lawyer tried to object, to throw out irrelevant claims, but they were futile. The evidence was too strong, too overwhelming. I watched, my ex squirm as her own actions were laid bare in front of the judge. Her face paled, the confidence she had walked in with now replaced by panic. "You've been living off his money long enough," my lawyer said, pointing to the documents we had gathered. "And now, after everything you've done, you expect to continue? No. It ends today." The judge leaned forward, clearly unmoved by her attempts to defend herself. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. And then, the moment I had been waiting for, the judge banged his gavel, making it official. "Alimony payments are hereby terminated," he declared. "This case is closed." I felt a rush of triumph, but I held back my smile. It was not just the legal win. It was the beginning of something far bigger. The second part of the plan was my brother. I had already confronted him once, but now it was time to take things further. I had gathered enough evidence, text messages, photos, and witness statements, to expose his true nature to everyone who had ever supported him. He had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. But today, I was going to shatter that illusion once and for all. I arranged to meet him at the same cafe where we had spoken months ago. This time, it was not going to be a casual conversation. This was my reckoning. When I walked in, I saw him sitting at the table, looking smug as ever. But there was a nervousness behind his eyes, something he had not had before. He knew, deep down, that I had the power now. I sat across from him, locking eyes. "You thought you could get away with everything, didn't you?" I said, my voice calm, but heavy with disdain. He shifted uncomfortably, but his cocky smile never fully faded. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, opening the folder that contained the evidence. I slid it across the table for him to see. Texts, photos, everything. His affair with my ex-wife, the manipulation, the lies. It was all there in black and white. He looked at the screen, his face going from confusion to panic in a matter of seconds. "You and her," I continued, my voice colder now. "You ruined my life. You think you can hide behind your family name? Behind this image of being the good son? No. You're a coward. And I'm not going to let you hide anymore." His arrogance cracked. He looked like he was going to say something, but the words caught in his throat. He knew he had been exposed. The facade was gone, and all that was left was the truth. He was just a man who had destroyed his own family for selfish reasons. "You're done," I said, standing up. "You'll never have that power again." I left him sitting there, speechless. I could feel the weight lifting from my shoulders as I walked away. The golden child had fallen. He was nothing but a man, broken by his own choices. I had taken away his power, and I had done it with just the truth. The final part of my revenge was the hardest, the one I had dreaded the most, confronting my parents. But I knew I had to do it. I had to face them and make them realize that their favoritism, their manipulation, their lies had cost them their relationship with me. I arranged to meet them at the house. When I arrived, they were already waiting, my mother's face filled with that familiar, false concern. "You've been so distant, son," she said, her voice dripping with syrupy sweetness. "We just want you to come back, to forgive us." I could hardly believe the words coming from her mouth. After everything they had done, after years of treating me like I was nothing, now they wanted forgiveness? "You really think I'm just going to forget everything?" I said, my voice steady, but full of anger. "You chose him. You chose the lies. You pushed me aside for years, and now, after everything, you think I'm supposed to just come back into this broken family and pretend everything is fine?" My father spoke up, trying to play the peacekeeper. "We did what we thought was best. We wanted you to be part of the family." "No," I cut him off. "You wanted me to be the one who sacrificed everything for the family, while you made sure your precious son always came first. You've never seen me for who I am. You've never cared." My mother's eyes filled with tears, but I did not flinch. "You never supported me," I continued. "You never cared about my success. You just wanted me to be the one to fall in line. Well, not anymore. You have lost me, and I'm never coming back." I turned to walk out, but my father called after me. "We're your parents. You can't just leave us like this." I stopped at the door and looked back. "You made your choice, and now I'm making mine." And just like that, I was free. Free from the guilt, free from their expectations, free from a family that had never truly loved me. As I drove away, the weight of everything that had happened started to sink in. It had been hard, but it had been necessary. I had taken control, exposed the lies, and shown them that I would never again be the one they could walk all over. My revenge had been sweet, not because it was violent, not because it was reckless, but because it was the justice I had always deserved. And as for them, well, they were left to pick up the pieces of the lives they had destroyed. They would never be able to undo the damage they had done to me. But I was free, and that was all that mattered. The weeks that followed my final confrontation felt like a weight being lifted off my shoulders, a burden I had carried for far too long finally falling away. I could not remember the last time I felt truly free, truly at peace. For years, I had been caught in the web of family manipulation, trying to meet impossible expectations, always being treated as if I was invisible. Now, all of that was behind me, and I was finally able to breathe without the constant pressure hanging over my head. My life had changed dramatically. No longer was I the man who spent his days being a punching bag for his family's emotional baggage. No longer was I the man who sacrificed his happiness, his dreams, for the comfort of others. I had finally taken control of my destiny, and the transformation was visible. I woke up each day knowing that I had done what was right for me, and that in the end I was the one who had won. Work had never been better. After my promotion, I had continued to climb the corporate ladder, earning respect and admiration from those around me. The confidence I had gained from taking control of my personal life translated into every aspect of my work. I was no longer second-guessing myself or letting anyone else dictate my worth. I was no longer drowning in the weight of my past. Instead, I was thriving. The business deals I had closed, the new opportunities that presented themselves, and the trust I had built with my colleagues all made me realize that I was exactly where I was meant to be. I had moved into a new apartment, one that reflected the person I had become. It was small, but it was mine. A sanctuary where I could breathe, relax, and find peace. The days of living in the shadow of my family's rejection were long gone. I could now live on my own terms, without fear or guilt weighing me down. It was liberating. As for my ex-wife and my brother, the aftermath of my actions hit them harder than I could have ever imagined. The termination of alimony payments marked the beginning of their downfall. With no more money coming in from me, they struggled to make ends meet. The lavish lifestyle they had gotten used to crumbled, and it was only a matter of time before the cracks in their relationship started to show. The reality of their actions finally hit them. Without me as their financial safety net, they were left to face the consequences of their choices. I learned through mutual friends that my ex's relationship with my brother began to falter. The guilt of what they had done to me was taking a toll on their bond. The relationship was built on lies and deceit, and when those foundations crumbled, so did the love they thought they had for each other. It was a bitter irony. The man she had chosen over me, the man who had destroyed everything I had worked for, was now the one she had to rely on, and he wasn't the man she thought he was. My brother, once the golden child, became a man who had nothing left but the broken remnants of his relationships and his dignity. As for my parents, I never heard from them again. After I had walked away from their home, after I had laid bare the truth of how they had treated me, they vanished from my life completely. They never made another attempt to reach out, to apologize, to make amends. And that was exactly how I wanted it. They were no longer part of my story. I had stopped being the son they could manipulate, and it was clear that they had nothing left to offer me. I thought about them less and less as the days went on. At first, there was a twinge of sadness, a fleeting thought of what could have been, but that quickly faded. What I had learned from them was simple. They were incapable of truly seeing me for who I was, and I had spent far too long seeking their approval. They were never going to change, and I had to accept that. In the end, I realized that their absence from my life was the greatest gift they had ever given me. It freed me to build my own future without the chains of their expectations. The greatest victory, however, came from within. I had not only outsmarted those who had wronged me, but I had also rediscovered who I was. I had learned that the only person whose approval mattered was my own. I no longer needed validation from anyone else, especially not from those who had treated me as if I was not worthy of their love or respect. I had gained the confidence to walk away from people who did not deserve to be in my life, and in doing so, I found my true strength. Looking back on everything, I realized how much I had grown. I was no longer the person who stood quietly in the background, accepting the unfairness of my circumstances. I had fought back, not with anger or violence, but with my actions and my decisions. I had taken control of my life, and in doing so, I had forced my family to face the consequences of their betrayal. I had learned an invaluable lesson. We are all responsible for our own happiness. No one else can take ownership of that for us. I spent far too many years allowing others to dictate my worth, to manipulate me into thinking I needed them. But now, I knew that I was enough on my own. I had built something beautiful from the ashes of my past, and I had done it on my own terms. The best part? Watching them unravel. My ex, who had once taken everything from me, was now struggling. My brother, the golden child, was now nothing more than a hollow shell of the person he had pretended to be. And my parents? they were left to face the harsh reality of their own actions, knowing that they had lost me forever. The revenge was not about making them suffer. It was about reclaiming my power, my dignity, and my life. It was about showing them that I was no longer the man they could control or manipulate. It was about me taking back what was always mine: my peace, my worth, and my future. Final reflection. As I look at the life I have built, I realize that the real victory was not in the revenge itself. The real victory came in reclaiming my life, in refusing to let the people who betrayed me define my worth. The lesson I've learned is simple. When you finally stop trying to please others, when you stop seeking their approval, you open the door to your own freedom. And in that freedom, you find the strength to become who you were always meant to be. The road was long, and the journey was painful, but it was worth it. I am no longer the person they thought I was. I am stronger. I am wiser. And most importantly, I am free.